On July 27, 2012, the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty Conference in New York City will be complete. Anti-gun international bureaucrats are already bragging that this conference will craft the most important initiative ever regarding arms regulation. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has already given this global gun grab the Obama administration's full blessing, calling for consensus in order to avoid loopholes. Loopholes like the Second Amendment.
Right now, gun grabbers from around the world are gathered in New York City to, quote, build consensus. Once they're confident the treaty includes the demands of tyrants worldwide, Clinton and Obama stand ready to force the UN gun ban through the United States Senate. It's very likely they will try to do it before the upcoming election.
Disguised as an international arms control treaty to fight against terrorism, insurgency, and international crime syndicates, the UN Small Arms Treaty is, in fact, a massive global gun control scheme. The Obama administration has already labeled Second Amendment supporters as terrorists in Janet Napolitano's infamous Homeland Security report.
In the eyes of Obama and the UN, law-abiding gun owners are the problem. They see our gun rights as a loophole.
According to the United Nations, government bureaucrats need to crack down on the Second Amendment, starting with full-scale global gun registration. And as history has proved time and again, registration is followed with full-scale firearms confiscation and destruction. Think that can't happen in America? Think again. In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans Police Commissioner Eddie Compass banned guns across the board.
You said guns will be taken.
No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
And while looters literally raped and pillaged the city, Compass sent in police and National Guard to confiscate people's only means of defense.
Walking up and down these streets, you don't want to think about the stuff that you're gonna have to do if somebody pops around the corner.
I mean, shoot in America.
Yeah.
Patricia Connie, an American living in New Orleans, never thought this gun ban could affect her. She weathered the hurricane in her home. The floodwaters never reached her door, but the police did.
Well, I don't want you in here. I don't want you in here, period.
There's a mandatory evacuation.
I know all about it.
Now, Hillary, Obama, international bureaucrats, and petty tyrants worldwide see their opportunity to push this same radical anti-gun agenda on the rest of America.
The UN Small Arms Treaty is not about stopping terrorists or reining in rogue states. It's about curtailing the rights of law-abiding citizens. And it's specially aimed at destroying the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution.
The notorious rogue state of Iran was given a key role in creating the Small Arms Treaty, despite the fact that they were recently caught selling guns and bombs to the brutal Assad regime in Syria. Now they are working with a cadre of tyrants, including North Korea, Syria, Red China, Cuba, and the Sudan, in a blatant attempt to force third world gun control on the United States. Ivory Tower diplomats from nations like Japan, Mexico, and Australia are quick to follow suit. The Japanese delegation to the UN summed up their position saying, "Small arms and light weapons are truly weapons of mass destruction. We strictly punish and control the possession and use of small arms by civilians." Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs Bob Carr stated, "Australia's message is that it's time for action on global arms control." Predictably, Mexico is spearheading the effort at the UN to target the ownership and sale of civilian firearms in the United States. Even with the conference moving behind closed doors, Mexico has not been shy about their intentions.
We also need the United States to be able to have an impact and shut down the flow of guns and bulk cash moving in the other direction, from north to south.
Using the Obama administration's Fast and Furious plot as their justification, the delegation of Mexico says this treaty must cover all types of conventional weapons without differentiation on its supposed use.
Mexico wants the Small Arms Treaty to do what they've been demanding for years: force the United States to crack down on private firearm sales and civilian ownership, regardless of the Second Amendment.
Once the United Nations Small Arms Treaty is finished, there will not be much time to react. Some Washington insiders say President Obama is ready to sign the UN gun ban when the conference ends on July 27th. Gun owners will likely have only a few weeks to kill the treaty once the anti-gunners make their move. All while the White House and the national media are falling all over themselves to sell the United Nations Small Arms Treaty as an anti-terrorism measure. That's why the National Association for Gun Rights must sound the alarm now.
Now, realistically, America's one and only shot at defeating this treaty is in the Democrat-controlled U.S. Senate. But as ludicrous as it may seem, even Republican senators get queasy about killing treaties for fear of embarrassing the president, especially with international prestige at stake. They look at ratifying treaties much like approving the president's Supreme Court nominees. Enough Republican senators voted to confirm anti-gun Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor to make passage of the UN gun ban a very real possibility.
For almost 7 years, the National Association for Gun Rights has been leading the opposition to the UN Small Arms Treaty.
NAGR was leading the fight against the UN gun ban long before any other gun group and has collected more than 1 million petitions against the Small Arms Treaty. But petitions alone won't stop this anti-gun nightmare. This battle will be won or lost by a few votes in the U.S. Senate, and only when politicians feel the heat do they see the light.
Right now, the National Association for Gun Rights is working overtime to mobilize millions more freedom-loving Americans and focus grassroots pressure on key senators. Will you stand with the National Association for Gun Rights to protect the Second Amendment?